All right, so let's dive right in today. We're going deep on AI. Well, not the Terminator kind of AI, killer robots and all that. We're talking about California Governor Newsom and his veto of this AI safety bill, SB 1047. It's a big deal, really. I mean, this decision, it could have ripple effects, throughout the country, especially with all the big tech companies based out there. And you're already ahead of the game wanting to know more about this veto, what this bill was even about, who's all for it, who is totally against it, and what happens now, right? So get ready, because we're really diving deep today into this whole SB 1047 thing, the battle lines it drew in Silicon Valley, and what it all means for, well, the future of AI, basically. Let's start with, let's break down SB 1047 a bit. What was the point of it? It wasn't about stopping some robot apocalypse, was it?
Right, right. This was more about safety and accountability, in the world of AI. AI is growing so fast, and this bill was trying to get ahead of some of the potential problems.
Okay, so like what kind of problems? Can you give me an example?
Sure, so imagine like an AI system makes a mistake, a big one. Maybe it misdiagnoses a patient and the wrong treatment is given. Or a self-driving delivery van malfunctions and causes an accident right in the middle of traffic. So SB 1047, this bill, wanted to make the companies who made these AI systems liable, responsible for that kind of harm.
Which, I mean, it makes sense. If a company makes a faulty car, they can be held responsible. But with AI, it's kind of uncharted territory, isn't it?
Exactly. It's a legal gray area, really. Not many legal cases exist yet to set a standard. This bill was trying to change that.
I see. So establish some ground rules. What else was in this bill?
Another big part was this idea of a kill switch. Basically, they wanted a way to shut down powerful AI systems in an emergency.
Like an off switch for a runaway AI, right?
Yeah.
You see that in the movies sometimes. Things get out of control, and someone has to hit the big red button.
Exactly. So this bill, it wanted to make sure we had that big red button just in case.
Sounds reasonable enough. So why was there so much pushback, especially from Silicon Valley?
Well, here's where it gets interesting. You'd think everyone would be on board with safety measures, right? But Silicon Valley was totally split on this bill.
Yeah, you mentioned some big names were involved.
Oh, yeah. You had OpenAI, the folks behind ChatGPT. They were actually lobbying against this bill. Can you believe that? And they weren't alone. Google, Meta, they joined in opposing these regulations.
Wow. So the companies leading the charge in AI development were against a bill designed to make AI safer. That's kind of wild. What about the other side? Who was supporting this bill?
Well, you had Elon Musk, of all people, big into AI himself. He was actually backing this bill, which I guess makes sense. He's been pretty vocal about the potential dangers of AI getting out of control and all that.
It's true. He has sounded the alarm on that. But still, you have these tech giants, some backing the bill, some fighting it tooth and nail. It seems like more than just a disagreement about, lines of code or something. What was really going on behind the scenes, do you think?
Well, think about it. This wasn't just about technology. This was about power, business, who gets to control what might be the most valuable industry in the world in the future.
All right, AI is going to be huge. Everyone says so. So were these companies worried about losing their edge if they had to comply with these regulations?
Absolutely. Imagine OpenAI, for instance. If they can avoid any kind of liability now, think of the advantage they have. Let's say AI-powered healthcare blows up, becomes the next big thing. Their competition, bogged down with regulations, they might struggle to keep up.
So this veto wasn't just about abstract ideas. It was about very real money and who gets to make it. Fascinating. So you've got these tech giants duking it out, some for the bill, some totally against it. And then you've got Governor Newsom right in the middle of it all. And in the end, he decided to veto the bill, to say no.
Yeah, it was a big decision for sure. A lot of people were watching to see what he'd do.
But did he just completely side with, those who want AI development to be a total free-for-all? No regulations, no rules, just go for it.
It's not quite that simple. Newsom, he had some specific concerns about this bill. It wasn't just a blanket no to any kind of regulation.
Okay, so what were his reservations? What did he say about it?
Well, one of his big worries, he was worried about stifling innovation, especially for smaller companies, the startups.
Right, those companies, they're often the ones pushing the boundaries, coming up with, the really groundbreaking stuff. But how would this bill have hurt them?
Well, his thinking was that, these regulations, even though they were meant to be good, they could have unintended consequences.
It might be harder for a small company to get started if they have all these extra hoops to jump through compared to a giant company with tons of resources.
Exactly. And Newsom, he even called the regulations stringent at one point. Like maybe they were a bit too much too soon.
It's that classic dilemma, isn't it? How do you regulate something new, something as complex and as fast-moving as AI, without accidentally killing it in the crib?
Right. It's like we want the good stuff, like better health care from AI, but we want it to be safe. Finding that balance, it's tough.
And of course, the people who really wanted this bill, they weren't too happy with this veto.
Of course not. They're saying without rules, the industry is just going to police itself. And, well, that hasn't always worked out great in the past, has it?
Kind of funny, in a way. Silicon Valley, they're famous for that move fast and break things attitude, but now they're urging caution when it comes to regulations.
It's a bit ironic, isn't it? It's like they're saying, trust us, we got this. But have they really earned that trust? Especially when something as potentially huge as AI is at stake.
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this whole thing started with one state, California. But AI, well, it's not staying within state lines, right?
Not a chance. This tech, it spreads like wildfire, which is why this veto, it's got everyone's attention.
Right, because right now we don't have federal AI laws here in the U.S.
Nope, not yet. So states like California, they're kind of leading the charge. What happens there, it often becomes the model for the rest of the country. So everyone's watching closely.
Makes sense. Are other states working on their own AI laws, or is California the first out of the gate?
Oh, other states are definitely getting involved. Colorado, for example, and Utah, they've already got their own AI laws on the books.
Interesting. Are they similar to SB 1047, or are they tackling it from a different angle?
They're a bit different. They're more focused, on specific issues within AI, like bias in algorithms.
Oh, right. Like the algorithms used for things like hiring or loan applications or even healthcare decisions.
Exactly. There's a lot of concern about those algorithms potentially discriminating against certain groups of people, even if it's unintentional. So those states, they're trying to get ahead of that.
So we have this kind of patchwork of AI regulations starting to pop up across the country. Does that create its own set of problems? Like a company could just move to a state with looser laws or something like that?
That's definitely a concern. It's hard to create a level playing field when you have different rules in different places.
Yeah.
And it gets even more complicated when you start thinking globally.
Right. Because AI, it doesn't care about national borders either.
Exactly. And that's what makes this whole thing such a huge challenge. Remember that Euro news debate we included in the briefing?
Oh, right, with the experts from all over the world. They were saying how tricky it is to, get everyone on the same page with AI regulations. Different countries, they have different priorities,
Yeah, for sure. And it's not like the early days of the internet where anyone could just make a website and it was accessible everywhere, no problem. We could end up with AI systems that are totally different depending on where they were created. Different rules, different everything. It could get messy fast.
Yikes. It kind of makes that whole kill switch idea, the one they wanted in SB 1247, seem even more complicated, doesn't it?
It really does. I mean, think about it. Who gets to decide when to use that kill switch if it's a global system? And for what reasons? Those are tough questions. Really tough.
No easy answers there. It feels like we're, I don't know, building the plane as we're flying it,
Yeah, kind of. Which is honestly why it's so important to be having these conversations now, whether it's about this bill in California or the bigger picture stuff we're talking about globally. We have to be talking about this stuff, thinking it through.
Absolutely, because we're basically trying to figure out, the ground rules for artificial intelligence.
Right.
What it can do, what it shouldn't do, and how we're going to manage it all. No small feat.
It's huge. And this veto in California, agree with it or not, it's definitely got people talking, debating, arguing even. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, better out in the open than behind closed doors, right?
Yeah. 100%. This is going to impact everyone, so everyone needs to be part of the conversation. No one should be left out.
And that's really what we've been trying to do with this deep dive, right? Give you the information, the different sides of the story so you can form your own opinion on this stuff. We've gone over SB 1047, who supported it, who opposed it, why Newsom decided to veto it, and what it all means for AI regulation in the future. But this is really just the tip of the iceberg, isn't it?
It is. This AI thing, it's not going away. If anything, it's going to get bigger, more important. We're going to be talking about this for years to come, guaranteed.
So as we wrap things up here, I want to leave you with this. Newsom's veto, it was a win for some, a loss for others. But the conversation it sparked, that's just getting warmed up. AI is coming one way or another. The question is, are we ready for it? Something to think about.